What's up, everybody? Welcome to System Crafters Live. I'm David Wilson, and we're back again with another Friday stream where we get together as a community and talk about whatever topic I've come up with for the week. And this week is no exception. Obviously, I haven't been getting enough sleep, so my speech cadence and ability to form phrases is somewhat compromised. But okay, you know, it's all part of life, right? Let's see who is here so far. Let me pull up the YouTube side and see who's in the chat. I'd like to say hello to Anton, Christine, and Minas Mazer on the YouTube side. And also Christine again on the IRC side. Amy, hello Amy. I don't know if I've seen you on the stream before, Amy. And Morgan, Yabo. Let's see. Got multiple Amy's here, yes. Every time you refresh. Robin, Rob, Glenn, Trev, Julie. All right. And Nakotani, I see you joining up now. Okay, cool. So, interesting stream today. Talk about some cool new stuff. There's also some related sort of announcements to talk about in a moment as well. I'm trying to think if there's anything worth, you know, just sort of shooting the breeze on in the beginning. It's not like anybody has been causing drama in the Emacs community in the last 2 days. I'm not really gonna call too much attention to that, but it's been kind of interesting. Hello to Ramin over on the YouTube side, and to Zegarus. Okay. Cool. So let me get into the news here. First of all, since this is a Hoot stream, got to talk about Sprightly Institute, and surprisingly enough, there is some like hot off the presses Sprightly Institute news right now, which is that the Sprightly Institute is hiring a technical administrator. And it's kind of an interesting position, if you can believe that. It's not actually writing scheme. It's something different. It's actually using Emacs and org mode to help organize the needs of the work of the Institute. So it's not about being a programmer. So you don't have to be a programmer to apply for this role. You just have to be a person who is familiar with Emacs org mode, and I think Git, because there's committing and organizing files in Git Annex, which is its own little thing. And there's some writing involved, developing marketing materials, scheduling, and calendar management. So this is more of a administrative type role, but it's administrative slash you're using Emacs all day. So kind of interesting, right? This is a remote position, part-time or full-time. I think it's US preferred, but not a requirement, as it says. You get health insurance if you're in the United States. And you must be able to work daily with US-based employees during standard working hours. So if you are a vampire and you're only awake during the night, maybe it's not a good idea to apply. But I think it's a really cool opportunity for the folks out there who are not programmers, but might actually want to work on some cool stuff or work around and adjacent to some cool stuff that you might be interested in. So definitely give this a look. Christine is putting the link in the chat. It probably showed up on the screen, but also if you just go to the show notes for today, which is linked in the description, you'll find a link to that there. So definitely take a look at that if you're interested. I know that 1 or 2 people already have been applying in the System Crafters IRC. So Christine says, if you're a vampire on the Eastern Hemisphere, it's fine. Okay, good to know, good to know. So vampires in the Eastern Hemisphere, you're saved, but you probably don't need health insurance. So who knows how you can work that out in the negotiations. All right, next thing is Andy Wingo was giving a talk about basically Scheme on WebAssembly, or really just the work done for Guile Hoot, and probably some of the other technical developments that were necessary to enable that at the ICFP conference. That is the, let me search for that, ICFP. Okay, there it is. Just to get the acronym right, International Conference on Functional Programming. I would not have said that wrong the first time, but it's a good thing that I checked it first. So anyway, point being, Andy gave a talk on the work done on Guile Hoot. So if you want to sort of learn more about the sort of journey of developing that and some of the technical details, definitely check out the link that I've got here. This is like the whole recording of all the talks in the Scheme track of the ICFP conference. So Andy's talk is first. And then if you're interested in Scheme, which you might be if you're watching the stream right now, check out the rest of the talks, because there's a lot of really cool stuff being discussed in the other parts of it. Hello to PCal in the chat, YouTube chat. So definitely take a look at that. Also, there has been a recent update on the R7RS large specification process by Daphne Press and Kindle. Now, if you don't know about the drama of the Scheme Standards Committee, I'm not going to go into all the details because I'm not even really an expert on that. But R7RS Small is the sort of minimal version of the latest Scheme language specification. And that was ratified probably in what, 2014, 2015? Let's see, R7RS Small. It was a long time ago. But R7RS Large, yeah, 2013, right? So, you know, this has been kind of set in stone since 2013. But the large version, which is basically all of the additional helpful programming libraries that you need for a full programming environment, more or less, that has been kind of log jammed. The discussion and development of that specification has been log jammed for quite a long time. And it kind of was stalled until Daphne got involved and tried to start pushing things forward. So Daphne has recently made a talk at the European List Symposium, which I've linked below, to discuss the current state of things. I haven't actually watched it yet, but I am interested to see it, to sort of understand what's been going on there, because I don't know, if we're interested in seeing R7RS finish the standardization process, we kind of need to know what's happening. So definitely give that a look if you are interested in the nuts and bolts of language standardization and how it might go wrong. I don't really know if she covers that, but you know, it is what it is. Hello to Casper and to Scott. Haven't seen you in a while, Scott, over on the YouTube side. And Robin says 2012, maybe 2012. Okay. So today, what we're going to do is try out Guile Hoot 0.5.0. That's the latest release of Guile Hoot, which came out very recently. I want to say, was it this week, last week? Friday the 6th. So maybe I mentioned that even last week. Oh no, I did mention it last week because the announcement came out like right after the stream started. So I didn't even know about it until maybe halfway through when Dave told me in the IRC. So really exciting release. This is basically rounding up a lot of things that people have been waiting on for a while, including things like interactive evaluation of scheme code in the browser. So before, you couldn't do interactive evaluation of scheme code. You could only do pre-compilation of scheme code that then gets run in the browser via WebAssembly. But now, we do have the ability to do basic evaluation of scheme expressions using the Hoot runtime in WebAssembly. I don't think that they have full syntax support yet. Let's just search for syntax. Here we go. New scheme interpreter in the Hoot eval module. Let me just say, okay, I'm not going to jump right into it. I want to kind of preface things a little bit first before I get into the full details. A lot of really interesting stuff in here. I'm going to try to go through as much as I can. That would be interesting to cover. There's like kind of 2 or 3 really big items I want to look at. I would like to try to come up with a small project to work on to try some things out. This is a little bit probably too ambitious for the 2-hour stream, but that's the way I do things. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, I wanted to kind of just poke around at stuff and take a look at things just to sort of see where things are at. I have not used Hoot since I did the Spring Lisp Game Jam. What month was that? Was that like May? I've lost it now. I don't know when it was. But that was 0.4.0. So quite a lot has changed since then, which is great. Also, I want to mention, I've already mentioned that they're here, but I will officially mention, we have Christine Limmer-Weber and Julie. I forgot Julie's last name on the About page. She's not on the list here. You got to update your page, Christine. Anyway, they're both from the Sprightly Institute. They're here also to, fact check me whenever I get things wrong. So I'm very appreciative for them to be here and to participate in the stream. I probably should have thought a little bit more about Julie Sims. Thank you, Christine. Julie is working on some really cool stuff related to integrating goblins with Shepherd, right? That's some interesting stuff. Okay, what was I saying? So we're blocked on Julie's lack of bio. See, that's what would happen to me in any place I was at. They would be saying, "Hey, we need your bio to put it on the webpage." I'll be, "Yeah, I'll get right to that." And then 2 months later, maybe they'll get like half of it. I don't know. I got to work on my ADHD. Separate from Sprightly work. Gotcha. Nakatani says, "Don't forget to like and subscribe." No, don't like and subscribe. If we're talking about this channel, because who wants to do that? Okay. I'm no influencer here. I'm just a guy with a hat talking about Scheme. So let's get into the actual details here. As I was saying, there's a new Scheme interpreter in the Hoot eval module, enabling you to eval Scheme code at runtime. This would have been pretty cool for the Lambda Dungeon project I was working on in the Spring Lisp Game Jam, but it wasn't there yet because these things have to be written. So, the Sprightly team had to go write that, but it's cool to see that we have it now. See the manual for an example program that uses the interpreter. We should check that out. This initial version of the Scheme interpreter supports base Scheme syntax only. Okay, so basically the built-in Scheme syntax is not extension syntaxes that you can write. No user-authored syntaxes or macros. It will be relaxed in the future when Hoot ships a full-featured macro expander. I would imagine that this will require porting the existing syntax expander to work in Hoot, which I'm not sure what kind of effort that's going to take, but it doesn't sound like it's going to be too easy. Because we'd be expanding it and ish. So we'll take a look at that for sure, because I have a lot of interest in the possibilities of this for building like interactive coding playgrounds, kind of like live editable games in the browser, this kind of thing. Which, today, maybe what we'll do, now that the idea just came back to me, maybe what we'll try to do is write some kind of a basic like code-driven graphics program, but I would probably have to pull back in all of the HTML5 Canvas stuff. I don't know if I really want to spend the time to do that, but hey, we'll see. New lightweight concurrency API based on Guile Fiber's library, which is pretty awesome, actually. Fiber's built atop JavaScript's promises and Guile's delimited continuations for convenient asynchronous programming without having to pepper your code with async await. So we were talking about this in the System Crafters IRC this morning. Probably check out System Crafters IRC if you haven't already, because we talk about cool stuff from time to time, and we also joke around a lot, especially when Summer Emacs is around. The difference between synchronous and asynchronous programming is that when you're doing synchronous programming, the code that you write, each line kind of, whatever it's doing has to finish before the next line of code gets executed. Whereas with asynchronous programming, you can call a function and it might kick off some kind of background process of some sort. I'm just going to hand wave on what that means. And then your code continues executing from there. And then once that background thing is finished, it might do something else in your code to sort of signal that it's complete so that you can continue on with the code that should have followed on from that. Normally, in languages that don't have affordances for asynchronous programming, you do this through callbacks or some kind of interrupts or something, which begins to look kind of like spaghetti code or like the pyramid of doom, where you have many nested sort of functions that invoke stuff that take a callback as a parameter, and then you've got kind of like a pyramid of nested functions effectively. So asynchronous programming can be a bit messy, but there are features in languages. Like Go has its own stuff like Go routines and channels to kind of make this make the code look synchronous, even though it's asynchronous. Guile has fibers. It's a library written by Andy Wingo. It's built upon the delimited continuation functionality in Guile scheme, as well as threading. Because I think Robin was telling us in the IRC this morning that you can do both kind of like green threads, coroutine type concurrency, along with multi-threading. So you get a little bit of both there. The idea is that fibers will give you a nice programming interface so that your code looks like it's synchronous, which makes it easier to understand, but also it can do really nice asynchronous things to introduce a lot of extra concurrency into your program. Now, concurrency is not the same thing as parallelism. There's not things happening at the same time. It's just that the various different sort of quote unquote, like abstractly speaking, threads of execution of things happening in your program can be interleaved, let's say, at a single threaded level, and then maybe at multi-threaded. Anyway, I'm getting too far in the weeds now. So I do want to check that out. I need to think of a good example to use for that. Maybe it could be something like kind of like automatically updating tasks. I don't know. We'll see. Okay. More of the Guile default environment. The Guile module has been implemented, and Guile flavored define module libraries now properly handle duplicate definitions. I'm not sure where that was a problem in the past. I don't think I actually used define module, unless I'm wrong about that. I need to actually go back and look at, was it there or was it on mine? Yeah. Not the CI. There we go. I'm sorry. There we go. Okay, Lambda Dungeon is here. What was I using? I don't even remember anymore. It's been a while. Yeah, I think... Oh, no, I was using actual define modules. So maybe this is more of a thing for... redefining modules interactively, potentially. Not sure. Scott says, need me to float you a couple euros so you can get your website back online? Which one? Okay. So we'll take a look at that in a little bit as well. A few modules from the upstream Guile can now be compiled into Hoot programs such as ICE9 blist. That one was. But I think really what this is saying is that more of the sort of Guile standard library, which is not Scheme standard library, it's like the Guile specific ICE9 libraries. More of them can actually now be used in Hoot, which is great because it means that if you're familiar with writing Guile scheme code using Guile libraries, then more of what you would expect to work will actually work. And there's a list of them in a minute we can take a look at. Uncaught exceptions now print backtraces. Whoa, with source locations. So if you actually tried to write any real code with Hoot in the past 6 months, what you realize is that if you get a scheme exception, actually, yeah, if you get a scheme exception, you don't really get good stack traces. The error situation improved a little bit between 0.3 and 0.4, I think. But it still was a little bit mystifying, I think. So I think we'll get some better results on that now. So I do want to cause some trouble so that I can see what the new result will be, which is going to be great. All right, so specific list of features added, the interpreter fibers, added support for R7RS defined library syntax. So this wasn't there before. For some reason, I remember that it was, but it wasn't. You want to use defined library to have portable scheme modules. Then you can actually write those down and use them in Hoot, which is great. Which also means that if you have existing R7RS libraries that you use, maybe those can work as well. Added code ref WASM heap type for storing source locations. Sounds like that was for errors, probably. Added source locations to exceptions. Backtrace printing for uncaught exceptions. We'll have to definitely take a look at that. Hoot interaction environment module. That sounds like that's for effectively for a REPL. You need to have an interaction environment that has certain things automatically inserted into it for the purpose of a REPL experience. So makes sense. Hoot regex module, which is cool. Let me see what Christine said. R7RS version of mini conren now works out of the box. That's pretty cool. Let's see. Hoot syntax objects, Hoot tree IL. Interesting to have tree IL there for sure. I think that's probably going to be more for like, you know, dealing with some compiler internals inside of the WebAssembly code, which would be pretty awesome. Sorry, folks, 1 second. Okay, so let's see. Binary ports, nice. Interesting to see how that would work. You can also implement custom ports, control module exceptions, internationalization module. Oh, ICE9 match. So we had a Hoot match before, but this may be the actual legitimate ICE9 match, so probably has better functionality. So that's great. Opt args. That for is that optional arguments for procedures? Is that for program? So ports internal rdelim module. That's some string handling functions, which would be mostly stubs. Okay, yeah. Byte vectors, nice. Another regex module. Some surfies now as well. Okay. I'm not going to go through every one of these because now I'm sort of like my eyes are glazing over a little bit. Re-implemented hash tables. Improved Guile compatibility. Added define external type macro to Hoot FFI. That might be pretty interesting too. Yeah, you can have null string references now. Let's see. Morgan says, if you already have a Guile program which uses supported libraries, can that same code be compiled to WASM using Hoot and run with no changes, or will some parts need to be modified? Christine says, more and more so that's the case, but not fully yet. Yeah, I think that it really just depends on the stuff you're using, because some things are stubbed out. They're not actually fully supported yet. All right, so let's see. Added run flag to guild compile WASM for quickly testing compiled programs. That sounds good. Added async flag to run async programs in conjunction with run. Okay, we might need to take a look at that too. All right. Reorganize JS reflection code and slightly change the API. I do want to take a look at that. Updated web setup instructions. The FFI with JavaScript libraries, it works, but it's kind of tedious to have to write all that. I'm hoping there's some improvements there. I literally have not looked at any of this yet, so if you see me scratching my head, it's because I don't really know yet what I'm looking at. Okay. Let's see. So Christine says, the way this is happening basically is that Julie keeps adding hacks to make more and more of Goblin's work with Hoot, and then Dave and Andy add features so these hacks can be removed. Well, honestly, that's the best way to do it, because you just need to sort of unblock things so that progress can be made. And I imagine that adding hacks into the code is extremely effective for getting Andy to pay attention to something, because he's like, no, it can't be done that way. So it might be a good way to get him engaged on doing things the right way. That's just my guess, though. Okay, I don't know Andy personally, so I don't really know if that's an effective strategy, but I can imagine. Osloy says, I'm excited for Hoot. Thanks for continuing to cover it. Well, I mean, you should say thank you to Christine, Julie, Dave, Andy, etc. for working on it, because it's pretty important. Christine says, previously Goblins on Hoot had to use a bunch of hacky temporary libraries, but now more and more often it can use upstream Guile ones. Yeah, definitely. Christine says, that's accurate. Julie's job involves a lot of nerd sniping the Hoot devs. Well, in our line of work, that's really the only way to get things done. It's like you have to annoy someone with something that's sort of not the ideal solution. Intentionally not the ideal solution, so that they actually, get engaged on the problem. Okay. All right, so we have some extra REPL commands now. All right, cool, cool. Bug fixes. String to list can now be used at expansion time. I guess that would be pretty important if you're trying to write macros. Let's see. Fix string ref to WTF8. I love that it's WTF, the string encoding, because really it is kind of a WTF situation. And I'm sure that's on purpose. Okay. Oh, the other really interesting thing about Hoot right now, it doesn't actually say this here because this was not news until like maybe a day or two ago, but up until now, Safari or WebKit did not support running Hoot programs, but actually now I think it does. I think it just happened. So the recent Safari technology preview has enabled WASM GC and tail calls, but there was something missing, but I think that something just got fixed. It got closed. Yeah, so I mean, it's being confirmed as fixed now by Dave and Daphne in the issue. So effectively, you will be able to run Guile Hoot programs in Safari on iOS and macOS quite soon. Whenever the newer Safari comes out, then that should work. So that means across all three major browsers, you should be able to run Guile Hoot programs with stable versions of those browsers, which means that now is the time to actually start writing real programs in the browser using Scheme. It's kind of incredible if you think about it. Like, you got an actual compiler target that works, where you can have cross-platform programs that don't require crazy application frameworks. You just use the browser. It says every hacker's least favorite nerd topic: character encoding. Yeah, character encoding and time zones. Either of those things, I don't really know of anybody who's like really passionate about them because they're really annoying, hard to deal with. So yeah, Christine says the history of WTF8 is the history of fixing the mess that was UTF-16 made, but that's, you got to get deep in the weeds to find out about that. I don't want to, and you probably don't want to if you can avoid it. But JavaScript was deeply affected by UTF-16's history. Yeah. All right. Hello, Boo. Boo says, next Firefox ESR drops October 1st. Looking forward to running this on IceCat. Yeah, IceCat, I'm getting closer and closer to starting to use IceCat now. Because Mozilla keeps trying to find ways to make money and doing questionable things. So it's kind of like that. They're starting to put like ad-driven suggestions in the address bar. Is that what I saw? Okay. So let's try it out. Like I said, it's been a while since I used it, so I'm going to be bumbling around a little bit here to get started, but we got plenty of time, so we should be able to get something going. I've already pulled and updated Geeks, thankfully, so I don't have to do that now. You don't have to watch me squirm while the substitutes get pulled down. So all I should be able to do is use Geek Shell. I could start something new. Let's check the tutorial though. Maybe the tutorial will tell me, remind me how to create a new Hoot project. I think there is some way to do that with Guild. Let's see. Contents. Guild. Create. Project. Guild compile WASM. You start with you try it out right in the blog post. Yeah, I could do that. I mean, maybe it's a good idea actually, Christine, to poke around with the REPL just to show that the REPL's working. So define foo x. Let's see, make adder value. I don't know. Ooh, invalid scheme expression. Okay, so there's no read line. Scott says, I love time zones. Yeah, you're definitely a masochist if that's the case. All right. Define make adder value Return lambda x plus x value. I don't know. We're just going to create a little closure here. Is that right? Got 3 parentheses. Cool. Now, define add 5. Make adder 5. Add 5. 10. Boom. Add 5. Let's see about the errors here. Ooh, scheme error. I think I was seeing some kind of stack trace like this, wasn't I? Because I remember seeing the irritants text, but maybe that was only in certain cases. Probably doesn't matter in the REPL because the REPL is probably catching errors to some degree. Okay, so cool. I mean, it works, obviously. We can do schemey things like creating closures and messing around. Okay. Let me see. I wonder if I should just sort of start from an existing project like Lambda Dungeon and just kind of hack it a little bit. So let's go to code Lambda Dungeon. I've not worked on this project in a while, but hey. So do I have a build script? What was I doing here? Do I have a... Well, let's just look at the README then. Make serve. Okay. And there's a make file. Okay. I think I was using Dave's template. That's why I was working. Yeah, so I started from template. Now it's all coming back to me. Okay. So let's just run this in Geek's shell. No, file. So this is going to be pulling down Hoot 0.5.0. I've already got that running, so it should be fine. Localhost 8888, is that right? 8088. Fine. Okay, cool. So that's Lambda Dungeon. Everything appears to still work the way that it did before. Great. So we'll just, rip the guts out of this a little bit and use that as a starting point to get everything else working. So let's see. Maybe I should kind of walk through things just really quickly so that people are... Rev says, it's back. Finally, we can finish the game. Nah, it's probably not going to happen. Once the jam is over, my attention moves on. And then I finished it. However, I could actually evaluate real scheme code now. That would be an interesting try, but... I guess the question is... Where is that? Which Surfy is it that has, let's see, Guile, define, record. Surfy 9? Is Surfy 9 in the interactive? Wait a sec. Okay, Surfy 9, I've forgotten the syntax. Yeah, didn't think so. Okay. Wait, is it use modules? No, not gonna work. Okay. Hey, Fikri. Yeah, okay. Christine says, I think Surfy 9 is likely to be one of the things that might not work because of the syntax things. That does make sense. I mean, records are syntax heavy for just a declaration of that. Faye says, if there's a REPL, the progress would be faster. Well, it's not exactly like that. What you would really want for an interactive development experience for writing a program in the browser would be having a way to connect to the browser session from your editor and ship over expressions to it. But I don't think that's possible right now. I think you could write it. I think it's certainly possible that you could set up a WebSocket connection yourself and then type things over from Emacs. I think that Andrew Tropin now is thinking about yeah, use modules not in the REPL environment. That does make sense. And REPL doesn't yet have the ability to import modules. Yeah, that's going to be a blocker for anything sort of non-trivial. But it's nice to have the REPL just to try things out. Excuse me. Fade says, I wonder if skewer works in this context. Probably not. I think skewer is just kind of like replacing... Well, okay. Skewer potentially could replace the WASM file, but would have to reload all the JavaScript in WASM to make it work, and I don't think that's going to work very well. Thinker says, are you still opening Guile courses? That's a great question. I need to get off my proverbial rump and do this, but the goal is to turn it into an on-demand thing, so there's not like, iterations anymore. So I just need to do that and put it out so people can join it up. Okay, Amy. Sounds good. Let's see. Christine says, but maybe Andy will amaze us by telling us some morning, hey, it's there, which sometimes happens. Yeah, I can imagine so. He just has to sort of get nestled into his hacker den and just crank out the magic. Nakotani says, you can import modules before runtime, but not in the REPL. Yeah, that's what it sounds like. Because you have access to a lot more things at compile time whenever real Guile is taking the code that you write and compiling it into WebAssembly. But then once you have the WebAssembly runtime, you have limited capabilities on certain aspects of code. It's not the same. Okay, cool. So that was interesting to try that. Let's get back to the code. I know I actually have defined record type somewhere in here, but I've been using it for quite a lot of stuff. I actually had, a decent amount of code in here, which is cool. But what am I interested to do? So we said interactive interpreter. I mean, I suppose I could try to do something with this game to do that. Maybe that's cool, actually. So let's think about it. In the context of Lambda Dungeon, if I were to look at the game, for interactive interpreter, obviously having code here would work. If I'm able to pass it in my own interaction environment, meaning I can stuff bindings in there to give functions to it, which I think is certainly possible, then I can provide my own API to the person who's writing the code for the game. So instead of having this kind of hacky logic thing that didn't really work very well, a person could write real code. Then for the actual logic of the individual entities that are walking around in the game, we could use fibers to code their logic so that on every tick, the next step is executed. I would have to look at the programming model of fibers a little bit more closely to see what it would look like in practice, but I think maybe what that might be is you sort of set the code block for each of the individual entities, which we're sort of doing here. And you have functions that you call, which are treated sort of asynchronously. Because they wouldn't... Actually, the way that we did this before... Did I have an example of this somewhere? Is it in the README or something? Was there a design file? There was some org file I think I had. Notes? Yeah, I had some examples somewhere. Come on, where is it? Yeah, so stuff like this. I had kind of logic blocks which were totally hacky. If we were able to implement something like this where you could have logic that called certain functions that would kind of wait until the next turn or has some kind of asynchronous functionality, then you could make it look synchronous. It could have multiple steps, like a branching path could have multiple steps that were sort of asynchronous. So we could try that. I don't know how well it's going to work, but uh-oh. Get a little pop-up from YouTube. Let me know at any point in the IRC if anybody sees a stream drop. It seems like it's okay now, but I got a little notification, so that was slightly alarming after what happened last week. Okay. So, first of all, let's try to get some actual scheme code evaluating here. So probably the thing we would want to do is figure out how we would want it to look for each individual entity. So we got 3 entities here. These are the, okay. So for those of you who were not following the game jam, let me actually explain the concept of this game to you a little bit so that you understand what we're doing and why. This game is intended to be a sort of reverse dungeon crawler where instead of playing the quote-unquote hero, you play the role of the goblins in the... I just got another message from OBS. That's interesting. You play the role of the goblins, and you're supposed to protect the treasure in the dungeon from the quote-unquote hero. There are keys that you might have to pick up to open doors, and there's pieces of treasure that are around that you need to grab before the hero grabs them. We managed to get a lose state working, I think, at some point. But the game wasn't fully complete, but it did sort of work to some degree. Oh boy, the stream starts to lag whenever you're on the Lambda Dungeon page. I wonder what it's doing in the background. Has it got like a lot of log speed or something? That's weird. Very strange. Thank you, Boo, for pointing that out. So we can't stay looking at the game screen very long, it seems. Okay, yeah, so something about this is lagging it out. Wonder if something changed in Hoot that made it act differently. Kind of hard to tell. Okay. So for each of the goblins or the entities in the game, we need to write some logic for them to dictate what they do. Like when the Hoot makes the camera lag. Yeah, it's not Hoot doing it. It's probably my poorly written code that is operating on assumptions that are now broken because Hoot got updated and is better. So it's all my fault, I'm certain. So the existing scripting language, okay, yeah, the idea is that you would edit a scripting language. Let me show the example code again because I don't want to hose the stream again. So you would write code blocks like this, which are the logic for the entities. And there's kind of a condition statement first, and then everything after that is like steps to take after the condition is met. So it's kind of like a con statement almost here, a con expression where you have a condition and then steps to take if that condition returns true. There was some extra stuff that went along with that too, but yeah, we may have to have our own little interpreter. I mean, yeah, if we can't write syntaxes, we can't do funky stuff. Just trying to think of the right way to make the syntax for. So if we were to do something like this, let's just try to rewrite something that would look more like scheme code. So what if I use an actual command? So I think there's a way with, let's see, R7RS small. There we go. On. Forgetting. Okay. With the arrow, the last clause could be an L. Okay. And what does the arrow do again? It's not else. This value is not a procedure that accepts one argument. Okay. Procedure is then called on the value of test, and the values returned by this procedure are returned by the con expression. Okay. So that actually is kind of what I want. You would be able to write something like, let's see, path blocked find key. So path, in this case, path blocked is something that returns a value. So if we were to rewrite this, we could say cond, not cons, find nearest item, take item. Now, take item is a little bit hacky here. Maybe it would be more like this in the end, because it would be a procedure that takes a single argument. Let's see, find nearest item, take item. That's not correct. Random balancing, whatever. Then path block, find key. That seems like the right thing. Then else walk to exit. So that would be the equivalent scheme code, I think, that would implement this. Am I wrong on that? Yeah, that's right. Okay, so maybe we would turn this logic expression into something like this instead. That look right? Do you schemers there? Kite says, what's the arrow for again? Yeah, that's the where the result of the predicate gets passed along to the thing on the right-hand side as a single parameter value to the whatever this expression that resolves to a procedure is. T. Robin says T. Okay. Cool. So that kind of makes sense. That's kind of a simple way to do it. Does cond work in the REPL? It must work. Cond. Let's see. What would be the best way to do that? I don't know. Say T, right? And T. I don't know. Undefined variable, which one? And. Oh, and? No way. Let's just go with plain old T. How about that? Oops. Okay, it did actually evaluate correctly. It's just I pressed enter in the middle. Trev says, are you going to use messaging in Fibers select over all those conditions and message back when the task is done? Trev says, I'm freaking lost. I don't know yet. I'm not an expert on Fibers, so we're going to figure this out together, I think. If we have time, and if my brain holds up long enough to actually deliver on the premise. Okay, so that is working, but kind of strange to see the and is not working. Is that not right? And TF. So we don't have and. Do we have or? Why is that? I mean, obviously you can just use if. This is the stupidest if I've ever seen, but you know, it's how we do. Okay. As always, Christine, I've chosen the extra hard mode task. Why not? But you know, sometimes I succeed, regardless of that. Today may not be that day, though. Okay. So, and also, if we want to have multiple steps in here, I think that this is not going to work. I might need to have like a special higher order function here. That might not work. So what I'm thinking is something like act. Can't say do, because that's actual syntax. Go. Is go a thing in Fibers? Go take item. And then you could have another thing like there was like multiple cases somewhere. We don't see it here, but there is multiple cases somewhere. Anyway, go take item. It feels kind of stupid, but it's evaluating actual scheme code and not my half-assed quasi-interpreted scripting language. Callus has Souls-like programming. Yeah, we'll do some more of that in an actual series of live streams soon, but today I'm gonna die. We're gonna get the big you died screen at the end of the stream for sure, or maybe 100 times in the stream. Let's see. All right, so take item. I don't know anymore. Go take item. Fine. But this would be something where it would take multiple sort of task procedures. Am I missing something here? Yeah, I am missing something. Okay. Cool. think I need to put that here. That may not work because this is going to return a procedure. Maybe this will be the case. Go action, then action, or action. I don't know if I want to do that because it's actually meant to be a series of steps. Because this is one logic path. Russell says, are you updating the game jam to Hoot 0.5? Sort of. I mean, I didn't really come into the stream expecting to do that, but that's kind of what we're doing, I guess. I mean, we've already recompiled the game with it. Maybe I should have deleted the stuff, though. Let me go delete the outputs. The question is, where did they go? Oh, the WASM file here. Okay, so did we actually get a new WASM file? No, we did not. I wonder if it even recompiled the game. Of course it didn't. That's the wrong one. Let's see, compilation buffer. Here we are. Let's redo it. Okay. That's what I'm doing, Christine. Incorporate the new eval. I mean, I could do a REPL, but what I'm trying to do is use eval on actual scheme code. So I'm converting. Where were we at? Converting the old way of writing logic blocks into an actual cond expression that gets evaled with eval. Hopefully. And then some of this stuff would use fibers somehow. But, you know, it may not work. Okay, so we've recompiled. Let me make sure. I'm doing a little bit of both in theory. All right, so we do have a new WASM file from September 13th. That sounds good. Let's reload this page. Let's make sure that the cache is not being used. Okay, code source not a function. Okay, so we got a little error here. You know, I probably need to update the JavaScript runtime stuff. There's JS runtime here, and these files are probably different now because of the new version. Wonder if GitLab Sprightly. I wonder if the game jam template's been updated. I would kind of doubt it that it has. Oh, okay, cool. Thanks, Dave. So if I were to update these files, in fact, if I go pull the repo, go do that actually. So I'll go load up eShell here. No. Whoop. Well, Guile Hoot game jam template. Did I not have that? Hello. Okay, and then reflect.js is the other one. Okay, now let's go back and check. It says, may I use your stream to raise some awareness about the status of the PEG parser in Guile and Nerd Snipe some people the patch I recently sent that needs some review? Yes, you can do that. Kites is referring to the post he made on Fediverse. Reposted. So there's a new patch to Guile to support proper PEG syntax. I'm guessing this will enable something like what we saw in Janet, where Janet has a sort of built-in PEG parser library. This may be to do something similar for Guile, where you could create a PEG parser using parser syntax. So to actually make that work, or to give full PEG grammar, you would need the changes that Kites has made here. So take a look at that if you are interested in helping out to try it out, review it, or just push to get it put into Guile. Okay, good. So, okay, that explains why that happened. Guy says we're supposed to have one peg parser in Guile, but it's not complete. Yeah, well, it's good that you're taking a look at that, because I now actually see the value of peg parsers, because it is quite easy to write those. Do a lot of interesting things for you. Thank you for opening the file. Okay, so let's go to the JS runtime folder and see if everything's up to date. Yep. Okay. So now I should be able to reload those, but I'm not going to depend on that. I'm going to recompile the program, compilation buffer, rebuild. All right, so now it's there again. I hope it did. We'll see. See whenever we reload and it works or doesn't work. Okay, different thing now. Type error, response is unsupported MIME type. Which file? Huh? The patch needed for that, for one of those files, and now I just deleted it. I feel like there was something that Dave had to do somewhere. Was it in the makefile serve? Boot web server serve. Is that not working anymore? Let me check the network files. I'm trying to look at them. Oh, WTF8. Oh, okay, that's a new file. I don't have that. I have that. So maybe Reflect is looking for it in a particular location and it's not where it thinks it. Or select wasmdir / WTF8.wasm. Load WTF8 helper module. Let's see. Reflect wasmdir, fetch and instantiate. Let's see. Fetch and instantiate. Load main. Okay, so if I go back to my game.js file, game.wasm. Maybe it expects it to be in the same path, so I've got it in like a subpath now. Okay, so zip assets JS runtime. So potentially I need to have those at the same level of the main wasm file. Select wasmdir, fetch, instantiate. Load main path, fetch and instantiate path. Let's see, reflect wasmdir is not set. Load WTF8 helper module. Yeah. I think it's looking for it at the root path. I don't know. Is that right? What do you think? Okay. So let's just try to move those. Sorry, folks. A bit of a unexpected turn here. Reflect.js, reflect.wasm, WTF8.wasm. I can move those files real quick. Okay. Let's try that one more time. Seems right. Okay. Back to the compilation buffer. Again. Reflect.js is not found. I think I may have imported that incorrectly now. Yeah. So in game.js, reflect, or maybe that's even in the index.html file. Reflect. All right, cool. So let's get rid of that part. Refresh. Looks good. Or not. The files are being found, but for some reason there's still an issue. So let's go back to the console. Window is not an object. Where? All right, so clearly, let's take a look at Dave's actual changes and just try to replicate what he's doing, because clearly it's not. All right, so and I think that they said that the API has changed, so this is probably why it's not working. Await scheme load main. Not the same? Okay, it's got that first object removed, it seems. Are those all moved in now? Math, this. Like a nested object. User imports. Okay, try that. Game.js. We're going to get rid of this part here. And then user, what is it? User underscore imports. And window document, etc., etc. All right. Drop it in right there. Does that do it? Okay. What else? Code changes. Yep. The pure stuff and including scheme base seems to be unnecessary now, which is interesting. There's also the media library, which was a R6RS library syntax apparently. Now has been changed. This is actually pretty useful to look at. Find foreign. Okay, those all still look more or less the same. I think it's just some spacing fixes due to removing the old library syntax. I don't think I need to do these specifically. This may need to be changed though. We're moving from Hoot byte vectors to the actual scheme standard RNRS byte vectors library. Okay. If there's a problem, I'll deal with that. Okay, that also got moved. Fine. Okay, so what were the substantive changes that I need to still make? Maybe that. Not really that. Not really those. I think that was it. Oh, okay. So I think that we may need to change the inexact to exact calls. If I have some of those, we'll see. Maybe not needed. Right. Where are we? All right. Some things are a little bit different. I don't know why that would be the case, but my guess is that some of the calls I'm using may have changed their output. Also, I want to see if the stream starts choking again. Do I need to be using this in Chrome, I wonder? Let me know if the stream starts acting strange. Kind of watching it. Seems fine so far. Okay, so the code is working. Oh, that's why, because I had the stuff open. Cool, fine. Run. Okay, code's working. So that wasn't that bad, updating for 0.5, thankfully. Hello, Summer Emacs. So let's see. We're trying to reach the win position here, but the enemy doesn't actually have the gems, so he can't escape. That's fine. All right, now I actually see that this stream is choking. So let's get out of here. I'll just reload and then move to the other workspace. All right, got that handled. We now have a working game. So the next thing I want to try to do is to deliver on the premise of using real code instead of the fake scripting language that I had invented before. So where was that actually? The game.scm, probably the real game.scm script. What was I calling it? Old script, set entity script. had some funky ways I was doing things here. All right, set entity script. Set entity script. I'm pretty sure that's the point where I, excuse me. Save the current entity script. Let's see. Oh, okay. That's just a setter for a record type. That's fine. There must be another thing. Event sync run. All right, cool. So where is that coming from? All right, event sync run. Here's where we're checking that. Event sync, message add. The game editor, current game case. Start game, current game, start game. All right, set entity logic. I think that was the thing I was using, wasn't it? Having real trouble here. Oh, compile script. There it is. Okay, here we go. With exception handler, open input string, read port. Okay. So, actually, that's kind of interesting. It's kind of the same. Set entity logic is a S expression. It's S expressions. So executing the entity logic each tick. Let's look for entity. Oh, come on. Fact. All right. If logic. This is where we're executing the logic. All right. So we need to look at the eval library. That is new. Index eval. You stop watching the pseudo troll fade. I mean, it's a curiosity, but you don't really need to do that. You don't really need to watch it. And it's not me, obviously, because I'm streaming right now. So I'm not the one who's doing that stuff. Hello to Daphne Preston Kendall. Nice to see you. Yes, you were mentioned. I mentioned your talk about the latest state of R7RS large, which is it's great that you're taking the initiative to push that forward, because what I understand is that it has not been moving. Yes, I have been eliminated as a suspect, because I'm here right now, and clearly I'm not typing. But every time you see me look at my other computer, maybe it is me typing. No, it's up to you to decide. Okay. So if we pull in Hoot eval and the interaction environment, we can eval a given S expression with a specific interaction environment. And it looks like we're creating a new instance of an interaction environment for eval. We can actually hold on to an environment as well. Now, make empty environment, interaction environment. Is there something to set bindings in the environment? Let's see, Guile, environments. Thank God it actually showed up. It says David was writing in a weird Lisp dialect on stream when the unknown subject was bloviating in Emacs. Okay, yeah, a weird Lisp dialect. It's so weird, isn't it? And it predates Common Lisp. So weird, really weird. Russell says fake scripting language. Was that not a DSL? I mean, yeah, it's a fake language. I just kind of made it up. Davin says interaction environment always returns the same environment according to R7 small. Yeah. I just want to add some stuff to it. Okay, you can define or set within it. You know, maybe that's what I actually need to do. I need to have like a little prelude that I throw in at the beginning. It's not going to work though, is it? I need a way to inject an FFI procedure. Do I need that? Well, I need a way to inject an existing scheme procedure from another environment into this new interaction. Either is it? Can I actually inject a compiled procedure, like a WASM compiled procedure from Scheme? I would have to be able to, but maybe that won't work at this point. So this whole thing may be a moot point. Let's see. We'll have to figure it out. Nakatani says, man, I love bloviation. Well, I mean, there's a fine line between exposition and bloviation. Maybe? Am I making things up? It's just a lack of sleep talking. You try eval to find food. Yeah, I don't know if it's going to work, though, will it? Because it would have to, like, we'd have to actually evaluate it. We'd have to return the original source to be evaluated, and can't do that because I actually want to pass in. I need to be able to pass in like record setters, or at least procedures that are defined in compiled scheme code, because I want to provide an API to the game code, basically, for the person who's writing the script for the game. There would need to be some precompiled functions that are being used, and I don't know if that's going to be possible at this point. If I can't set something in the environment from the outside, and I'm not even sure, now that I'm really thinking about it, I'm not sure how that's going to work. It's not guaranteed to work. Yeah. Okay. I mean, it doesn't hurt to try it. Let's see. So let me think about how I want this to look to start with. So we already have the example code. Where is it? In notes.org. This is what I'm theorizing that it will look like. So there would be a predicate expression, which is a find nearest item procedure that is coming from the compiled scheme code, but we want it to be evaluated in the eval environment. So I would need to inject that somehow. So that's probably the best way to start, is to just take a very specific procedure and try to shove it in there. For this code, I kind of need to have an existing environment set up for that, or effectively a scripting environment. I mean, it could be one per entity. It doesn't matter that much. They don't need to share state. They just need to call into the same API functions. Fade says, does Guile do the hygienic macros? Well, not in the evaluated code right now, but in general, yeah, it does hygienic macros, syntaxes. Oh, this is not really macros that Daphne is showing as an example. That's really just constructing an S expression effectively and evaluating it using the runtime interpreter. All right. So we'll just shove the code in here for now, and then if it works, we'll make it a bit clearer. So what we want to do is update the entity. We probably should already have all the stuff we need for this here. Can I define this at the top level in this module? Sure. Get rid of this pure too. I don't really exactly know if we need that there. Find out. Eval env interaction environment. Now we're gonna need. Oh, actually, in R7RS. Come on. Environments and evaluation. Yeah. You can see how this is not going to work. Because you kind of need imports for this, and right now the eval logic does not support imports, and I wonder what interaction environment is actually You look at the hoot code and see. I guess I should not do this on GitLab. I should do it locally. Go to Guile Hoot, then pull the latest. Okay. So define interaction environment. Is it going to show up? Go. Test eval, okay. Yes, summer. Okay, we're exporting interaction environment. Okay, make. No, that's not right. Is this really the right thing? 2 days ago. Okay, so it is the latest code. Okay, REPL, R5RS. Here. Current environment. Really? Really? But this is running in Hoot, though. This is actually running in the runtime. Lovely. Now we're getting into the weeds. So we're setting hash tables. Bindings. Okay, we're making a hash table. We're setting bindings in there. Local and imported. I wonder if it's possible though. So let's take a look at the manual for. Yeah, so current environment expands the code that creates an evaluation environment containing all the available top-level bindings at the location where current environments. Maybe that's actually it, right? We call current environment. Does it give us all the bindings that are available that have been imported? So if I create a module that I compile using Hoot and load it up in the browser, and then say current environment inside that module for whatever I've imported at that moment, that should be enough, I think. Hey, Daphne, thanks for dropping by. And Daphne says, don't forget to read the R7 large fascicle. Man, I can't read. On macros when it comes out next week. Fingers crossed. That sounds awesome. Happy to see progress on that. Okay. Current environment actually sounds like the thing. So let's maybe create a new module. And we're really not making a huge amount of progress here. Sorry for that. But, you know, we had to start somewhere. So let's go to, we have entity. I'm going to call this eval.scm, which is, or how about we say maybe script.scm. That a little bit more accurate. Define module lambda dungeon script, right? Yep. I don't think I need a scheme base anymore. What I do need is Hoot eval and Hoot interaction environment. So let's just grab these. Go in here to script and dump that, and then throw the module bit in front of it. Everybody loves hash colon magic. Is that right? Okay. That should be enough. Now, define create script or make script environment. Let's call it that. Make script environment. Technically speaking, you could call it script environment. This also a little bit of a circular logic, probably. Because someone needs to import this module to get access to script environment. Because what we're going to do here is just call current environment. However, we need to import all of the other procedures that I want to get access to in here, which means that to avoid a circular dependency issue, whatever code is that calls or executes a script would need to not be imported by any of the other modules that are being imported here. Does that make sense? So what I want is, well, you know, that work? I'm trying to think of the right way to do this. So let me think of from the perspective of how we're calling it. Let's see. Update entity is where we were actually executing the entity logic. We got the logic, and then we start actually processing the logic step by step. We're not going to do that anymore. We were interpreting the clause and the actions to be taken, but now this is going to be executed directly. So this procedure in the entity library would need to call into the script library, essentially even to execute a script. So define execute script. I know I didn't type that right. So if we take that to the logical conclusion, we'd run eval on logic with the script environment, which obviously we wouldn't need this procedure if we leave it here, but I'm trying to think of like the right place to put this so that it will work. Here, we need to import Lambda Dungeon entity, I think. Unless, maybe it's not needed. Maybe I'm overthinking a little bit. We have some, I don't know. That could be the way to sort of abstract this. So let's try it this way. Lambda Dungeon Action. Not a good name. I'm this for now because gotta make some progress here. Lambda Dungeon Entity. Let's start with that. What else do we have? Maybe item. Effectively, we want to write the logic. And yeah, let's actually go back and look at the interpret clause. Find nearest type, find item position, find item position. This was in entity.scm. So we have a procedure here on level and type. Find item position. And that was actually something that we can interpret. Okay. All right. Find item type, level, entity. Okay. So find item actually took a type, and the other ones did not actually take anything. So what we need is a find item to actually be represented like this. Excuse me. Needs to return a lambda that can then returns a closure, let's say. So let me try that. So find item, find, and then we call find item position level type. So what we would do is effectively copy this procedure and turn that into a lambda here for level. Type we already have. Okay. So this is how I kind of see it working. If we were to go back and look at the org file, find item is right here. Find item gem yellow. When we're actually executing this in reality with cond, find item gem yellow will be a call to this actual find item procedure. You give it a type, which is a list. In fact, you probably have to use a single quote there. Now, make that a symbol. And then, well, actually, we could probably, never mind. That will return a lambda expression to be executed. Now, this is not going to work here because this con needs to have the information it needs to operate. Do I need a fluid or something, maybe? Or some way to have a dynamic environment? Feels a little bit yucky, to use a technical term. Not sure I want to do that, but that might be the way to do it. Or like a parameter, let's say. They're probably all using some. So we can set the current level for that scope of code being executed at cond, so that the level value can be extracted. Now, let me check the manual. Fluids. Okay, we have fluids and parameters. A fluid is a variable whose value is associated with the dynamic extent of a procedure call. We can make a fluid. We can set a fluid value. We can use with fluid to set some fluids. All right. Now, how's a parameter different? Parameter is a procedure. Yeah, okay. So the difference with that and a fluid is a fluid. You don't need to call it like a procedure. You can just ref the binding, I think. No code example. Yeah, that's more like what I'm thinking. Either way would work, I think. But so we would pull in Hoot fluids inside of that code. Not the best, but it can work. Problem is, you would need access to that fluid, I think. You need to call fluid ref. Okay, so it's basically the same. You have to reference it, which means you have to know that it's a fluid. The binding is a fluid. Benoit says game writing with Hoot. I'm basically updating the game we worked on for the game jam to try to use some of the new stuff, but not really making the fastest progress. All right. So basically what I'm getting back to is that you need access to the fluid object or even the parameter object to pull the value out of the dynamic extent. Which means in this code, we need to have access to all of the predefined fluids. So we would need another module that would define the sort of dynamic variables that would be set, which I'm fine to do that. I suppose I could even do it here. So if I were to say, yeah, use module fluid, Hoot fluids, okay. Okay, now define set current level. That is make fluid false. That's the default, so I don't really say that. Then we would say fluid set. Okay, and then for every time we talk about level in here, we would say fluid ref, lid ref, fluid ref, current level. All right, so now we've got that. This needs find item. Wait, is that in level? It's in level. Use module. This is probably ill-advised, I would say. Why do I say that? Because we're dealing with the aspects of the code that I wrote and not actually looking at the real aspects of the new Hoot feature. That's okay. I mean, I guess we're kind of doing it a little bit, but not really getting into it enough. So we've defined a fluid. We have access to it now. We can use it in our function. So find item is the first one. In script.scm, I want to be able to pull that in. So I will pull in Lambda Dungeon actions. Now, when I pull in that actions, it was only going to give me the things that I export. So in this case, I want to export. And let me check the export syntax again. Find item. Okay. So that's really the only thing right now that we're exporting from Lambda Dungeon actions, and we're pulling that into script.scm. So that might be okay. Because there's no, well, we'll see. So we're pulling in current environment, which in theory should bring along the things that we imported from Lambda Dungeon action. Execute logic, I think we could probably just say do that every time, okay? Execute logic, Lambda Dungeon script. I have a little typo there. Wouldn't hurt to try to do something like calling PP. Maybe I can try that. So now I've changed this up. Update entity. We have logic. Instead of looping through the logic, oh, we have PK. Okay, PK was the thing. We're not going to do that anymore. Fade says, I feel like scheme needs a system definition facility. You'd have to explain to me what that means. I feel like I've missed some questions in the YouTube chat. Sorry about that. Let's see. LD asked at some point, do you still use F#? No, not really. Haven't for years. Yurko says, hello from Japan. I'm here, but not... I'm 1 a.m. here, but still excited to watch your stream. Thank you. And also asked, have you switched back to evil mode? No, I'm not going to switch back to evil mode. I'm good where I'm at with vanilla. Let's see, what else? Loa Fort says, have you first done this one for the Spring Jam? Yes, I wrote this for the Spring Game Jam. And Palash says, I love your Emacs from Scratch series. Thank you. That thing is way old now. I need to do a new version of that for sure. Christine says, like a replacement for auto tools. Faye says, to specify dependencies for the system build. Sounds like geeks. Oh, def system? Okay. Is that like a specific thing to Common Lisp functionality? Okay, let's get back to it. So I'm going to get rid of this block here. I'm just going to delete it. Why not? Why not? So I've got logic. What I want to do is call execute script. That's from here. Oh no, execute logic. Logic. Do I need that anymore? I have Lambda Dungeon actions. Oh no, I need this kind of as the shim to import only what I want and then use current environment to just shove that into the eval environment. All right, so execute logic. All right, and then update entity. What assumptions am I making about calling that? I think it might return something, but I don't. Oh no. Okay, cool. So I'm just calling it and then letting it have mutation effects. That is fine. Not really fine, but we're gonna live with it. Cool. So I should be able to go into the game after I recompile. Let's see. Okay, cycle in module graph. You're right. There is a cycle in the module graph. That's what I was worried about. Okay. Question then becomes, how is it that I'm going to deal with this? I think this is more of an issue of proper code structure. Making sure that sort of building layers that don't have cycles. And I don't know if we have time to fix that problem. Kind of a waste of time, to be honest. What is the quickest way that I could get through this while seeing some of the new stuff and not fooling around too much? We have 15 minutes, right? I would say the best way to do that is to just write some code that can run when I load the game page, and maybe it writes something to the console, okay? Unfortunate, but that's the way it's gonna have to be for now. Maybe when we do another game jam, we can do something that actually uses fibers in a more interesting way. And eventually we'll have goblins too. Having goblins for game jam is gonna be super interesting. Fibers example. Make a very simple program that sleeps for 1 second before returning the value 42. All right, so we are importing a couple of fibers libraries here that are part of Hoot. We have a lambda that looks suspiciously like a promise. Is that a main function? Ooh. I see. All right, so if you are going to use fibers at all, you need to have a top-level promise that can be invoked. And it appears that so basically your program entry point becomes a promise that's being returned from the WASM, the compiled WASM module, and then you call proc call async. The proc here, I'm guessing, this is a magical value that is the main procedure of the module that gets loaded. And you're destructuring the list that comes back, the array that comes back, and you're getting the proc out, which is the first item. Or maybe it's named. No. Anyway. And you call async. All right, so it's technically a different program altogether. Maybe we can just do that. Where's my main? Game.scm. All right, so we're doing a whole bunch of stuff here. What am I actually starting? Request animation frame. Okay. So we're doing request animation frame and timeout update callback. So those are the two things that are currently driving the event loop. We can sort of just skip that for now. And instead, return that promise looking procedure. Try this whole thing, actually, and see what it does. We'll use the same example. Fibers promises, fibers timers. All right. Throw that in. For some extra funny stuff, we can eval something and set the value in the environment. So define myEnv. This may be a good way to test things too. What happens whenever you're not really prepared? Just kind of blindly stumble down paths until you find an approach that's going to work to get you to the end of the stream. So we got myEnv. Here we're going to technically speaking, we could just do a loop. Force out. Okay, so it's basically flushing the output. Would it not be enough to just do a new line, or is that asking? All right. So in this case, we use the scheme syntax. Maybe I don't. Can I just do like a let loop? That doesn't really. There we go. Env current. All right. Let's do it that way, because this is like a totally ridiculous way to make a little counter, but what we're doing. We're gonna live with it. So waiting, sleep one. We're gonna sleep. Why not? we're going to set the value. Hold on a second. Yeah. We're going to eval. So, yeah, let's do this. I think this might work. I'm not sure. So, define count 0. Eval set count plus count 1. We're just going to count up a little bit. It'll be fine. And then we're going to display the current value of the count. And can I use PK for that? PK count. What is it? Count. That will tell us something. That will tell us if the same binding is respected. That should be interesting. Maybe I should actually make the eval return a value, but hey. Okay, so we need to loop at the end. There we go. We got our little let loop. It's never going to stop. So we don't really need to return 42, but you know, we'll leave it there. Cool. So now I need to change the game.jas file to do something a little bit different. We do load main. We're awaiting on load main. The difference now is that we have to... Okay, we call load main. Cost and const. May need to read that, right? Cal says, is there a thing as current environment? According to this, there is current environment that's in the Hoot eval module. Now, obviously, I need to go pull those in, but I haven't done that yet. Thank you for reminding me. Hoot eval. There's also all right, so what was it that I was struggling with at the moment? All with async result. Right, this part. So the fiber example, you need to do it a little bit differently. Let me just comment out all this other stuff that's using FFI, because I want to just simplify this whole thing for now. Okay, don't need all that. You just need this part. So then that allows us to go to game.js and not use the add event listener, because that could just cause a lot of trouble for us. So we'll also comment all of this out too. I love commenting code out. And then once we're done with this, I'll explain what's actually happening. Game.wasm, right? Load main game.wasm, right? Then proc.call async. Let's see if this totally crashes and burns. It might. Cycle and module graph, still got the same stupid issue that I need to deal with. In fact, where are we? This one pulls in script. Is that enough? Need to get rid of that. A warning. Right. The interaction environment is not Okay, let's not do that. Really, that's wrong. Unbound top level. Gotcha. No geeks malfunctions, Trev. E of little faith. Execute logic. All right, cool. We're just gonna make this a no op. 4. Is that right? It's 3. Holy moly. Unbound top level display. Okay, that's line 194. Just that I don't have a display. Module that in. See you, Christine. Thanks for being here. Appreciate it. We will all be going soon. All right, so never used display before. Why is it working here? And PK is coming from another module too. Hoot debug. Okay, I don't care about that. All right, let's get rid of that display call because it's clearly causing problems with that display. I'm gonna call PK instead. Who cares? As long as we can see something get printed, that's all we really need. Force output. Some bindings not being included there. Wrong number of arguments to loop. Oh, you're right. Bad scheme, programmer. End. Okay, and also let's throw some new lines in on this stuff too. I don't know if PK already does new lines. Actually, it may do new lines, so whatever. So, hold on. Where is this getting executed? Is it executing the loop in the compilation phase and it's just getting stuck? That would be really weird. Let's see. Nothing else going on. I broke it. Oh, you know what? I forgot to compile with that async. Maybe I'm also making a mistake too with the not using run, but I don't really want to use run. All right. So let's see. Compile L, Guile Wasm. Go back to the make file. Guild, Guile Wasm. Ooh. Is that good? Interesting. Something, which there shouldn't be much in here actually. Whoa. Big Edie is spamming the stream with some chess information. I don't know what that is, Big Edie, because I don't really know chess. I'm not like a smart person or anything. I'm just here, fiddling with parentheses and wishing that they would work. Right. I was going to try to take out all this other stuff that I'm importing because who the hell knows? Maybe there's some issue that's being caused by it. Really strange. Could be a bug, but also could be something I'm doing wrong. Let me actually check the code change that I made and take out any other imports I added that could lead to a dependency cycle. Pretty much it, right? Big Edie says, chess is easy, good programming is hard. I don't know. I mean, like, you need some deep strategic thinking and cramming a bunch of long-term context in your head. So I think it's probably pretty hard. I mean, well, let's say it requires a lot of mental conditioning, right? So does programming in a lot of ways at a higher level. Okay. I'll fool with this for like another minute, but I think I'm gonna have to pull the ripcord because this is not gonna work. Robin says Go is the scheme of board games. I've heard a lot about the Go board game. Sounds cool, but not really much of a board gamer. I don't really get bored. That was a terrible, obviously. Is it really because I did this? Can I just like take that out? Take out the eval. Count, writing out count, probably should be fine. All right. What I do, I just comment out code until it works. Wrong number of arguments to call with async result. And why is that? Wrong number of arguments. Okay, so that actually worked. Something I did in there I didn't like. And I wonder exactly what it was. Let's see. If I don't loop, so we don't want the lambda there. We want the 42 because that's the result value, I think, that comes out of the call with async. Al says, I appreciate the joke. Nakotani says, oh, that Go. I thought you meant Golang. No, that's why I was very specific about saying I was specific about saying Go, the board game, because there are two Go's that people know about. Gonna start? All right. We may have to try this again sometime because there seems to be an issue here. I'm not exactly sure what it is. Trying to compile this lambda. It'd be just me being sleep deprived and stupid at the moment, but we'll put a pin in this and come back to another time. Probably not next week, but maybe we will do a game jam or something soon, and we'll get really more into the weeds of using the latest stuff in Guile Hoot, or at least the asynchronous programming stuff with Fiber, because I think it's going to be pretty interesting to use that. It would also be really interesting to use it for any web application that needs to make requests to an API import. Anything really, like you need to make web requests or any other asynchronous API, then you can really smooth out the code patterns by using this instead. So for game logic, I think game logic is one interesting place that can be used for that. But you could also use just plain old delimited continuations for that as well. You don't really need to have fibers for that. I don't know. There's a lot of interesting things we could probably experiment with in the future. Chris says, I think you were just moving stuff around to run down the clock. No, I'm really I got stuck here because I can't really fix this problem. I don't know what's causing this because I haven't tried it yet. So I haven't had a chance to talk to Dave about it either. So hopefully there was some useful information in the stream to help you see what has changed in Guile Hoot 0.5. Probably we'll have to get into it another time to really get into the finer details of doing asynchronous programming with fibers with Hoot. But I think that's probably the most exciting thing out of the whole release. I mean, obviously having an interactive interpreter is pretty cool. But since it's still pretty limited at the moment, you can't import modules, which makes sense. Or can't, in the interactive interpreter, import modules. Apparently, you can import a module into the environment, more or less, before you try to evaluate code in the environment, which opens the door to having an API that you can call into. And actually, why don't I just do one little thing here? Let's not try to do the async thing. Probably should have done that before I tried to convert the code. Can I pull this back in like 2 minutes? Right. I think I just commented a bunch of stuff out, so maybe I can re-comment it. Who knows? Let's try it. Let's see what happens. I'm not promising anything, but we'll just give it a shot. All right, so we got that back in now. I don't want to do any async compilation anymore. I'm going to take this async out. In fact, I'll copy this line just to have it around. Doesn't like that, huh? Comments and text. All right, so we're not doing async comp anymore. And I think we're going to have some errors as a result of not importing certain modules that are needed. Actually, I didn't really pull back in a lot of the stuff that's in the main part of this code. So if I were to redo the same thing, we have count. I could even do a loop in theory. Right? Sleep, count. We're not going to sleep. We're just going to straight up do that thing. Loop, env, and that's it. We will, those two lines. Okay. So maybe when everything loads up, but we need this line too. All right. Try it. Just trying to see if this will work. Count may not get updated correctly. Wonder if top level code's giving it trouble with a loop in it. Is there like a I think top level code with named lets having issues somehow. So callback, man. Not a cheap way to do this, I think. I almost need to push a procedure onto the event loop, have it run after the code loads up, that it works. This is kind of gross. Okay, so I think that actually does work. All right. Okay, so if I do this, and then timeout, update, callback, update, callback. There we go. That could work. We're gonna call procedure to external, run main, and then we're gonna give it a timeout of, let's say, 100 milliseconds. Probably should put 100.0. Let's try that. Hopefully that will keep it from hanging. I think that the named let thing is an issue somehow. I could be wrong. If compilation isn't complete, then we're done. Rev says, current environment gave me issues before. Well, we haven't tried it in Hoot yet. All right, that's it. I mean, I don't have more time. We gotta go. Anyway, this stuff does work. for other people, not for me at the moment, because I'm doing things in a more complicated way than necessary to show you how to try this stuff. But hopefully there was some value in it for you. Let me know in the comments if you think that it was completely misguided to try to do this right now. That's fine. Otherwise, keep an eye out, because probably in the next game jam, I will try to do another project with Hoot. Maybe something a bit more interesting. I mean, Lambda Dungeon was kind of cool last time, but maybe we can do something better. Who knows? So the links to everything are in the show notes. Back in the original September file here, so you can get the links to the stuff that we talked about before. Definitely keep in mind about the job posting that is there on the Sprightly Institute website for a technical administrator. Cool way to get paid to use Emacs all day, kind of thing. And that's it. Big E says, "Where's our org agenda video?" Well, you got the org agenda video. There's just another one that hasn't been made yet. I don't know. I'm considering my options. Let's just say. We'll talk about it in the IRC. All right. So I hope you all have a great weekend. Thanks so much for being here. Appreciate your time and attention. Until next time, happy hacking. See ya.